Welcome to our lovely future humans, and welcome to a late IHP show with your 5D mystic, ready to chit chat some more about the 5 greats of our future humans. Yes, there's more than just 5, but we began a couple of shorts talking about honoring them, and they are for those of us who are mystic, spiritual, mindful, sovereign, secular people. They support us because we do spiritual and personal growth. We enjoy mindfulness practices, the paid subscribers at IHP, the free and live subscribers, and some come and some go, and that is really amazing. So when we do know who we are as human beings, we know we're not broken and that humanity is saved. The kingdom of God is within you. So heaven in the body, that's why we are going to honor these 5 greats: Pat Ogden, Bezel van der Kolk, Peter Levine, Stephen Porges, Dr. Daniel Siegel. There's more than just them, but I'm honoring them for now, and then we'll keep on spotlighting more of them. Let me start with some quotes. Trauma sits in your automatic reactions and your dispositions and how you interpret the world. So in order to really rewire those automatic perceptions, you need to have deep experiences that, for your survival brain, contradicts how you are now disposed to think. Bezel van der Kolk. Continuing with him, the only way we can change the way we feel is by becoming aware of our inner experience and learning to befriend what is going on inside ourselves. And we're not done yet. Be patient, and then we'll have some fun, but these are all important as they will be pointing to that which is our body. So my body's connected, and that's our future humans, because they will all know how to use self-regulation thanks to the securely attached, non-traumatized, mystic, spiritual, mindful, living, loving people who are doing spiritual and personal growth like I am, and who continue to know when their unfinished business comes up. So I get to continue being a master of my physical plane and my mental and emotional, thanks to my mother and my twin, as my personal development supports me because I'm aware, accountable, and regulating to I'm gonna keep working with that little angry butthole. And then when it comes to all other people, my mother taught me manners, so that began a long time ago to consistently stand. And then Jesus taught me forgiveness, and Dr. Daniel Siegel confirmed how it works for the body that is connected with an integrated brain. It's called not I justify, but I'm able to process whatever emotion arises, because that's exactly what the trigger is. And because I self-regulate in Maria's ventral vagal state, it's really easy to be love, light, and lightning. And it's fun because you're not in the sympathetic. When the modulated embodiment people get wind of them being able to be equanimous and discerning and loving like God is, but not that we embody it, okay? And the ones who are like, oh my God, did they just say they embody divinity? Did they just say they embody God? Wow, okay, would you give it? Hold on a minute. I mean, don't you notice I'm in flesh? There's no way that I could ever embody it. But I have the embodiment of my pure consciousness, my channeling body. I'm connected. There's a way I can explain it. So people who don't let people talk, we all can do that, though. I know I'm guilty of it too. So sometimes you get really, really charged, and then we learn to continue to try and chit chat and have a good time, and that's called tangoing. And that's why personal and spiritual growth is for grown-ups. Emotional grown-ups. Emotionally immature people can be grown-ups with the number that they have, but most trauma we see in our offices is interpersonal trauma. It occurs in the context of attachment relationships. Thank you, Bezel van der Kolk. So when you have unfinished business, it's your 0 to 8-year-old, and you get to tend to it with growing up with the loved ones. That's why we talked, our oversoul supports us to continue doing personal development and spiritual growth. So you don't justify the angry 3-year-old, but instead you allow yourself to know that the past lives through you as it comes up. You use the neutrality and duality so you can get your prefrontal cortex online. And Stephen Porges, let's honor him a little bit. Fight or flight doesn't always work for us, and this is the whole story underlying trauma. Stephen Porges again, when people get triggered into either mobilization, defenses, or shutting down, they develop elaborate narratives to make sense of what their body is doing. And that's why people have stories, and they don't like the explanation, which is unfortunate, because the explanation would say, okay, don't endorse that which just came up. Allow yourself to welcome it, and then learn to use 5 mindful mindset inner growth practices to decide how to best bring forth activities that will allow you to get back into your ventral vagal state. And as you do this, the elasticity, and you continue to do it more and more and more. And as Tara Brach points out, meditation trainings help us calm the busyness of our minds that keeps telling us things are going to go wrong. It brings us back to a place of aliveness and balance, but it also allows you to diffuse that which is unnecessary energy and to use it in a way of connecting with others. So anger, sadness, and fear are our dominating main subcortical area emotions. Fear is about certainty, sadness about bonding, and anger is about self-agency. So the sovereign self-agents, we know all about how to harness, again, that which is ours. Peter Levine, let's honor him, as he tells us, when we can feel our body as the container, then the emotions and the sensations do not feel as overwhelming. They are being contained. And once that happens, that's why mindfulness mindset practices support you, because you are now the container, and sensations come up, check. You got the capacity to be in your prefrontal. Images come up, check. And that's not about the channeling or the downloading. When that happens, you just don't get diluted. So I have plenty of things that come through, and I don't need to share it always with all people. And when I do get downloads and channels, it's from different number of galactic beings, angels, Jesus, Buddha, you name it. But because I don't have to create all the separation that others do, because, I just leave it in the big pile. The messages are always for the higher good of everyone, so it's not as important unless you're wanting to, dress yourself up. And that's where some people, they prefer to dress themselves up, because Pat Ogden, thank you for this. Trauma impacts the body so strongly, and the responses that the body has are often not metabolized. So people get stuck in trauma time. They can't move on from it until those responses are metabolized. And so when people don't notice that their body is not yet at ease when they're waking up, they're not growing more energized, you will notice that they're disregarding their health and their wellness and their well-being. And that's because they don't want to pursue restorative embodiment and resilience. Alan Fogel, PhD, great book, A Guide to Disrupt Habits, Create Inner Peace, Deepen Relationships, and Feel Greater Presence. He's another great one. So as we move into the future, people are consistently, mystic, spiritual, mindful, looking forward to being more of their equanimous and discerning and loving selves, as God is for all of those of us who have a relationship with God, Akash, Source. We may use different words, but we know the frequency of all that is. And it is not about good or bad. It is a frequency. Those words exist, and you know how to do good. It's by expanding and supporting humanity to breathe air, drink and eat food, and obviously to do the best that we can to get people to get along, like any good grown-up, right? Any good parent. So forgiveness is important. Those who are not yet ready, they get to join together and they work through their trauma, and they don't project it on the entire globe, making us think that there's a monster from the sky, which is why the volcanoes are erupting, or that so you see, we don't need stories that create superheroes, supervillains. 3D, 4D, they're creating a lot of different stories, and when we hear, the 5D collective hears all, because we're not deluded by our imagination, so flat earthers might have a point. We're also not influenced by our implicit, explicit memory and our biases, and we are also people who make our decisions based on what truly matters and works, and not upon what we like or don't like. So thank you again, Sadhguru, for the wisdom. When you're wise, you do know, as Sam Harris points out, any of our cherishable beliefs can be basically falsifiable. So why would I get into a humongous argument with no other reason except for what? I can't talk to you about different opinions. This is how easy it is when you're an ego with a self that knows, wow, there's a lot of beautiful information out there. Let's honor some more. Stephen Porges, he shares, we tend to think of triggers as words or scripts or contexts. He says, I'd like therapists to think of them as physiological states. And in fact, here's where biological rudeness, as he points out, it is when people are not acknowledging your feelings because they can't. They don't have a sense of awareness of reciprocity. They don't want to intentionally hurt your feelings, but what comes up is reactive. And when you seek meaning in their behavior, there is none, or justification. It's basically the nervous system is in a constant state of defensiveness, and the control that they have is a warm blanket because they have difficulty dealing with uncertainty, and also their past, their childhood past, their 0 to 8-year-old works through them. So the part about how Pat Ogden points out, trauma impacts the body so strongly, and the responses that the body has are often not metabolized. So when you meet adaptive child part people, they're called emotionally immature. We want to look for the story that the body is telling, because the body remembers, the body records everything. Thank you, Pat Ogden. So when somebody does not know how to be yet the future humans that we are, the 5D collective, they're going to say, but it's tiresome. And that's going to mean that they have yet to harness their nervous system in a way of being able to know how to use the sense of self, and therefore be, I'm Maria, for example, I'm a 3-year-old, 1-year-old, I'm imperfect and flawed, and when I do feel my body all the time, I can differentiate, as Dr. Daniel Siegel pointed out, because I love to be connected, so I don't project. I'm able to talk about the charges if they're coming up, and that's why we're not triggered the same way, but we can still have triggers, so we don't make it a blanket statement, okay? Because obviously I'm going to say 3-year-old, she's still triggered with my mom. I'm sure I still trigger my mom and my twin and my younger sister, because that's how family dynamics work, and plus we've been around each other for eons, right? It's exaggeration. See, teenagers, we like to exaggerate. Love and connection heals trauma. Trauma blocks love and connection. Trauma blocks who we are authentically. Trauma energy makes us something other than us, and it is love and connection that heals trauma. Frank Anderson. But people won't be in the love and connection when they are being reactive, and that's going to be red or yellow, as Stephen Porges points out. And so when you're dealing with trauma victims, as he says, their nervous system is a neuroceptive state that has great advantages in detecting a predator, but is totally compromised in being social. Trauma is not an event, it is a response. Thank you, lovely Stephen Porges. And also the hierarchy is this: the social engagement features prosody, facial expressivity, gesture within a quiet, safe environment. And as Pat Ogden continues, traumatized people often have trouble regulating by themselves, but they also have trouble seeking others and taking in the support and regulating with others, which is why they justify light and lightening and don't want love. The 4D continue to want to stay in modulated embodiment. So they continue to think that their sympathetic is their health, which is not. And they don't notice that they could easily go to Pat Ogden and or a good therapist and do EMDR, child parts work, somatics, because people can use the words, but as they are not embodying connection, it will be clear to those of us who see how stressed out they are in a way that has them withering away. And especially when they say they don't want to do equanimity, common centeredness, or that resilience just means you put up with bullshit. Again, it sounds like a, nervous system wanting sense of predictability, sense of control, our human secondary consciousness, which is why the 9th chakra, as we talked about yesterday on our 8-8 portal, is what's actually expanding your higher self, self-led people, sovereign, secular, mindful people, sovereign, 5D collective and beyond mystics, sovereign, 5D spiritual, Christ consciousness. It's oneness consciousness. It's an integrated brain. And that's why we know trauma is stored in muscles, bones, and tissue. Thank you, Peter Levine, which is where yoga doesn't bring demons out of you, no. But once one piece moves, as he points out, the rest comes forth. Not really, it depends. But the people who spread rumors, they just found a narrative that is basically being judgmental towards yoga with what is ignorance and mediocrity, to say the least. Offensive, I mean, I'm pretty sure empowered, all religious, everyone's spiritual people are not going to be like, oh my God, I'm so offended by an ignorant, mediocre human being who just offended. What? You didn't offend. The people who are offended, they're the same ones who don't know how to be aware that we didn't know that there were no demons inside the bodies of people until whenever Patrick McNamara began to publish his books. And still on Netflix, there's shitty docu-not series on demonic possession. They didn't update any of their docu stuff with all the good information from academics. So we're still waiting, I know I am, for pop culture to catch up with the real stories instead of making up bullshit. But pop culture is where I read on a magazine, like, what, 3-4 years ago, that they continue to spread rumors about the brain not working with left and right mode together, but that you're one or the other. So I remember believing that that was true until I found out it wasn't. That you're not more left or more right. You work with both, but you won't have both working if your default mode network isn't down regulated. Mine is. Thank you, Dr. Daniel Siegel. So when you have integration of brain, as he explains, your brain becomes a conduit because the left and right work together. The default mode network is down regulated, and that's why my body's in connection. And a non-traumatized person is a person with secure attachment. We have the capacity to regulate independently of relationships. Thank you again, Pat Ogden. So I'm going to keep quoting them and interacting with you as well. And the hierarchy again, social engagement features. So it's really fun to know about intelligent human beings. And as Sam Harris points out, if your beliefs are not falsifiable, if there's no scenario that could convince you that your most cherished opinions are in error, then that's proof that you didn't get them by being in contact with reality. But also, if you are a truly intelligent mind, you will not be deluded by your imagination. As a mystic channel downloader, it's not because of what I see that I'm going to come say, hey, let me tell you everything. But I do understand the people who want that sense of certainty about how things are going to move on. And then that's why prophets, gurus, spiritual masters, and enlightened ones, we're all together knowing the future is going to be fine. Any enlightened one will tell you, if there's one religion we could have, is the religion of oneness, and bring it all in. And the ones of us who are mystic, spiritual, mindfully living, loving, we like to bring also sciences into the mix, because nothing is canceling out the other. Because that's how an integrated brain works. It feels good. I feel good. No. I knew that I would, because we have personality patterns, temperament, and attachment. And that means we're flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, stable. So I didn't lose Maria's identity or anything. I didn't lose shit. People, when they think, but you can't bring it all in, your brain's going to fall out the asshole of who? Your brain, maybe you don't know how to put in different pieces of information. Are you feeling by any chance threatened by these pieces of information? Because it sounds that that's what reactivity looks like to an intellectual mind, who's also a mind that is spiritual, who also understands oneness and then understands when manipulation is happening. So what's going to take place with our split that the 4D keeps talking about, it's been going on for a while already, and I now understand why. It's not train tracks. The spiritual community doesn't bring in the human elements all the time. I'm bringing the human elements. You know how we have still TV, right? Okay, so some people watch the very unfortunate business of what bleeds leads. I have a bachelor's in political science and a master's degree in international relations and diplomacy. I will inform you all that I don't talk about politics, not because I can't. I do with smart people. I learned about what bleeds leads in my journalism class, and I asked my professor, so they decided to stop giving us good information. Is that correct? Is that what you're telling me? And only gossip, basically? Did they have any kind of integrity? Like, wow, this is my profession? Or were they like the cocaine addict lawyers that I met who apparently thought it was normal to do cocaine while being lawyers? And I totally think that's a hypocrisy, because you're a lawyer, and then I'm not gullible or an idiot. I'm more like, wow, that's an inconsistency. You obviously didn't want to be a lawyer, you know. Then when someone tells me about the holes that it pokes in your brains, and I'm like, well, I was a smoker and I still smoke cigars. So, I mean, should I talk about, you know. So moderation is key, and then also key is being objective with oneself. I didn't say Maria's smart for smoking. I just said, please stop making it into a big deal. There's a lot more to human than just one aspect. So when you hear masculines, not the empowered masculines, okay? So empowered masculines and empowered feminines, we work together. And you have your own feminine element and your own masculine element. So I like to let you know the body's the feminine. Empowered is a body connected. Masculine empowered is left and right working together with your integrated brain. So default mode network downregulated. Is Maria explaining, humanly speaking. The split is simply put, those people who still watch the TV boxes, then the people who still watch docu, not whatevers with Netflix, forgetting what academics look like, and scientists, and actually not only forgetting, but actually saying the mass media, and pointing fingers. So the split is basically when you find mediocre, ignorant human beings who disregard that those who are academics, like Neil deGrasse, they will have a way to continue coming together, because even I am still an academic. I just chose not to continue being in the setting. But I continue to know who the real intellectuals are, and then I spot the pseudo intellectuals thanks to the real intellectuals. Real means realistic. So, as Sam Harris points out, your beliefs can be falsifiable. Oh, also, you don't need to do a story and make it sound like only 20 and 30 pieces of information are the correct ones. Is you're not proving your paper on a screen. So empowered feminines will always notice, wow, and empowered masculines, I hear some data, but then I hear some tainting going on. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the tainting, I can grab it right now. Oh, look, there's that. Oh, look, there's a group. Oh, what are you, flat earthers? Wow, that's amazing. So thanks for the other data. The smart ones of us, we're going to grab that, and then we're going to put it in another pile. And when 4D likes to grab information from people, these are mystics, by the way, and intuitives who actually think that they're going to grab something of value from another human being from the... I'm not kidding. I'm sharing with you mystic stories. This has happened. People in my field, when it has happened, I just laugh thinking, wow, they don't really know how it works to be a channeler. They really don't, because if you did, then you wouldn't bother with something like that, because I'm going to pause to help you understand. I'm Maria, and we are part of a big ball of energy, dark matter, dark energy. God created us, or Akash Source is a part of us, however you want to pose it. Again, it really doesn't matter to smart brain, because it's all good. Because, again, it's a sound. So, miracles, supernatural things, yes. There's also that which is called science that can explain things. And when people thought that wrath of the gods was epilepsy, now we know that that's not true. We know that there's no demons in the bodies of people who have fragmented states of self and who began their life with a very, thank you for the confirmation, crappy childhood. That doesn't deny any of those which are stories from our spiritual ancestors. The only part of the brain that cannot handle having 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stories in the same room is a non-bilaterally integrated brain person, which you don't need to be here if that's the case, because again, we hear them all the time. Your brain's gonna fall out of your ass. Well, no, it's not. Thank you so much. So the visions, for example, prophecy, speak forth, mind and heart of God. That's a big one, isn't it? And that's a big one because it creates a level of giving yourself a certain type of authority. So I like to let you all know we are all part of the big ball of energy. The spiritual mystic people will continue to expand their clairs as we always have done. Science will continue to do what they do. Powered masculine and powered feminine work together because they continue to maintain that which is a balance that can't be broken by anyone. And that's exactly why you will notice who's an egoic mystic, a spiritual bypasser. The minute they think they are physically needed, I'm not needed and you're not needed. If they don't have the capacity to honor that with this, knowing I am not needed. In fact, actually, Maria and any spiritual one is not needed. You know why? Peter Levine, Stephen Porges, Bezo Vanderkolk, Dr. Daniel Siegel, Pat Ogden. That's why. Science consistently has shared with me restorative, resilience, embodiment, all of that. You can all be that which your body is bringing you towards. I was not surprised when I heard God's good. So the being and doing, in human words, God will always win. Evil does not win. And Lucifer's a fallen angel who cried. I saw a tattoo and I saw the eyes of shame. So there's nothing to be afraid of. In fact, it's very sad again to see human beings who think they're intellectually something and they're buffoons to a person like me, especially the pseudo intellectuals. The ones who spread rumors about people like yoga just make me think business culture. Maybe my master's degree is why I know about needing to learn about things before I go there. Or maybe it's because I'm bicultural. If you're going to go to a place, you don't complain about a place without you having understood what it's like. It's called culture shock. But people don't like to use big fancy words. So we got our gossipers, which are the relationship soul age groups, who are going to continue doing pop culture. And then you got Schopenhauer with a quote who shares with you, when you want to appeal to a large audience, you appeal to the masses. And I think, which ones? I don't want to appeal to mediocre masses. I'm not into any of that which is emotional immaturity. I was serious as a 4-year-old. I was serious as a teenager. And I am still serious as a grown-up. It's not serious. I'm a thorough human being. So what works is that I know when ears are tainting shit because they don't like something that's being told and their body's already like this. And I'm thinking, there ain't no Lucifer, evil, Knievel, medieval. That's a pathology. And that's not funny. So, to be saluted, I had nothing, and I still have nothing against this human being. I'm not interested. My amygdala alerts me. My 14-month-old amygdala, my Maria, will alert me to who I'm interested in hanging around with or not. I've always wanted to hang around smart people because I met the cowards. The cowards were not interesting. And I am 45. The cowards are still not interesting. But thanks to Peter Levine, I cried a lot for them, and Bezel van der Kolk, and Dr. Daniel Siegel, and Stephen Porges, and Pat Ogden. But thanks to them, I know they're all saved if they want. They can go to therapy. So when someone goes up to the Dalai Lama and says, how dare you smile in the face of all this suffering, you think, wow, business culture, person didn't get cultured on who the Dalai Lama is. Yoga demons, wow, you really don't notice your ego? I mean, how do you even think that's interesting? Oh, but wait, you must have mediocre people who like to pick on yoga or something. I don't know. But then again, I have a lot of funny jokes that I have that I'm sure other people find dorky. So there you go. It's flavors, the split. It's basically, you're going to have the masculines who cannot handle bringing it all in because they don't like science and spirituality coming together. And then you're going to have people that are like the flat earthers, convinced that they're right just so they can hang out together and feel special like teenagers did, which is why we find them like buffoons, not evil in this way of monsters. But the 4D doesn't get their body connected. And so because they're time jumping, and that means their body goes on, off, on, off, on, off, it has to rest for a minute because that's what happens when your body weighs you down. Because you're disregarding the smart therapist to inform you of what decentralizing of the self is, of what nightmare after nightmare is. So when people disregard their well-being for a story, it's called not self-sabotage. Thank you, Janina Fisher. It's called that the 16-year-old of theirs, the fight response, is refuting by a mild bejesus of it to go and get their ventral energy because it's not true. Love is not true. Don't you see all the shit that goes on in the world? That's not true. They're all bad. Neuroception decides for people what they're going to feel. Like Dr. Amy Pegan points out. That's why it's subjective reality, which is why guys saying, I want it to be a world where it's not about what feels right, what is right. Wow. Sure. You obviously don't know that you had all feelings in that moment. So the greats are the sciences with the spiritual ones. The ones who are spiritual already know everything's going to be fine. But then we already also know that there's other soul age groups. I also know God doesn't give you more than you can handle. And if at a certain point a person refuses to look themselves in the mirror, notice, wow, I have trauma, and go heal themselves, they're going to find a group to hang out with. And it's none of our business unless you're a martyr superior who also needs a therapist. Or someone who says, I'm a healer, and I told them, how dare you trauma dump. And I think, wow, more teenagers on a screen doing that. Or, it's my subliminal messages that make you get to highest self. But we're special. We're anointed. Come again? We feel more. Did you just say we feel more? You do realize we are the empowered feminines, correct? And the empowered masculines. Just wanting to stop, to pause, and have you consider what just came out of your mouth. Like you're saying you feel more than another human being. We feel equally. Difference is, are you feeling with your ventral vagal state and your prefrontal cortex, or are you feeling Dalai Lama? We can approach life with laughter and love, not in spite of all the suffering, but actually because of it, that we have a kind of responsibility to bring joy into the world. Not everybody wants their ventral energy, as our lovely Dr. Daniel Siegel shares, who is in a role as a secure attachment figure for this individual ever. So for any individual who has never had a secure attachment figure, the meaning of that will be that you will continue to be a deep source of soothing where you have supported them as a safe haven. So that means that their nervous system can regulate into the ventral vagal state, which is the E state. So they can, I can rest. Then you will also continue to be a secure base. Those are interests that you share, which is why a securely attached, non-traumatized person is a safe haven, secure base. And that's where, when it's a polyamory or monogamy, monoamory relationship, you will still establish the same if you're functioning or child adults. And if you're not, then Terrestrial can help with that. And for our polyamory community, securely attached polyamory people know how to love. The ones who are actually giving each other numbers and then they're saying, you're not poly enough, and they're doing stuff that basically sounds like more teenagers. I'm like, wow, that's just not love. Like, love means amore. It means I will always lead you to your best version because I will want the best for you. And I won't shit on you. I won't crap on you. So when you have emotionally immature people, it's very clear when they're crapping on each other. It's like Pinocchio following that fox around, thinking the money that he was getting was amazing as he's being a puppeteer. And you know what? When people think they can be manipulated, I think, wow, so you still aren't going to go get your gut fixed? Because with the fact that you think you can be manipulated tells me a whole bunch about you. Do I know that I could be manipulated? Not by the man in the sky. Nope, because I have a communion with God and I actually have a good gut. And so I will notice things about those in flesh. And then as for the energy sphere, again, when I hear 40 thinking there can be bad frequency, I'm like, wow, they really don't know what energy and a ball of energy means, like the actual word. I've had people come in my sphere again. It's hilarious, actually. And I didn't ever believe in any kind of black magic, because when you're raised with God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, there's only one kind of evil. It's called Lucifer, who doesn't exist. And that's why cowards, that's the only thing you'll find. And then when they're in your energy sphere, you'll actually be able to easily notice, wow, did you just do this? Well, let me come back in. Hold on a minute. Let me fix what you just think you did. Now I'm going to go and pray with my lovely candles, and I'm going to keep praying and praying and praying with the candles until I clear all of the shit that you just did, which I've done, by the way. You clear energy, oh, it's amazing. Fire. 1, 2, 3, fire again. And at some point you will have, because that's the intent of love, is I don't need to do anything. I don't need to lift a finger. I will be on the side of whatever just took place. I'm not going to assume. I'm not going to do. And so when you have empowered feminine, we don't go pointing fingers and saying someone's an energy vampire, dark aura, but that's because a body and connection won't be affected by anything that's in my sphere. I'm my sense of self. I own Maria. I own all this shit, and then it's all energy. So once I got expanded with the spiritual expansion, it's easy. You don't lose the foundation. God is my foundation. Jesus is who I follow. Holy Spirit, this is the Trinity. And it's sad to say that the ones who I am greatly, greatly disappointed in are the same ones I've consistently been disappointed in. But I forgive the grown-ups who betray us. And future humans don't have grown-ups who betray us because yesterday's news. Plato, the cave. Anybody know about the cave in Plato, one of his books, or Socrates? No, who was it? Anyways, when you have people who are looking at caves, there's your split. We got people who don't take their children to hospitals because they've decided that makes them more believers. You can't force someone to believe in what you will try to explain to them. You see? That's why you don't make anyone into a believer of God. You don't make anyone into a when I have someone says neuroscience, ha ha ha, everyone has something to believe in. Now I'm like, okay, I'm grounded in reality. Mystic woo-woo pseudoscience lady, you obviously are not. That's it. I have no words for anyone who wants to deny science because it hasn't disproven God. It continues to prove that which is the heaven in your body. So the kingdom of God is within you. And as I finish up with our lovely Dr. Daniel Siegel, you can continue to be a safe haven, secure base. For them, where the safe haven, you have been an incredible source of going where they go to you when they feel distressed, for every part of them to actually know that they can go to you and be with you in presence, attunement, resonance, and trust. And as a secure base, they will have learned that they can go out and explore into the world without using dissociation. with the many facets of who they are now all available to them in a continuity and coherence that is really helping their self feel full. Dr. Daniel Siegel is talking about those who have healed the fragmented states of self. So that's with a person who does therapy, and it was my dissociative disorder and disorganized attachment course where I got to hear about the beautiful lady who healed. She's writing a book so that other people can know with dissociative disorders, and I don't know if she had disorganized attachment, but that you're not broken, but you're fixable. And she explains in the course what happened and stuff like that, and it was really good. Integration made visible is kindness and compassion. This road to integration can be incredibly energizing because what you are doing and helping is someone to heal, and you're bringing out into the world the love and connection that is the birthright of all of us. This is Dr. Daniel Siegel. Life as we move together to create more integration in our world. So, may your decisions be based upon what truly matters and works, not upon your likes and dislikes. Thank you, said Guru. And as he also says, the most precious thing is life itself. Will you realize this now or only on your deathbed? The prophet stuff, speak forth mind and heart of God to encourage, comfort, challenge, or strengthen outside of time so can predict events future with visions or dreams. Divine revelations prophetically reveals hidden things, miracles, supernatural miracles, and the word of wisdom diffuses conflict and provides clarity. So when people want to keep prophet, guru, spiritual masters, enlightened ones into our yesterday's books, those are the 4D who don't understand that we don't have to. No, they don't like it. They don't like that you're bringing in more than one thing. That's why it's cognitive dissonance. That's why it's structural dissociation. That's why it's an adaptive child part. That's why it's a non-bilaterally integrated brain, because it's a human being who doesn't understand. It's all different books. And when someone wants to talk about belief, I say, excuse me, are you talking about books right now? Because if there's one thing I believe in, it's called God. I can't prove God to you. Anything else, it's called information. And that word belief makes me think of, I'm not a 4-year-old. I can believe that pigs might fly to them tomorrow. That's how my brain works with the word belief. So believing in evil, nope, no evil. Believing in good, yes, but is it a belief? I see the good. The evil thing, it's used in ways that are inappropriate because philosophical and religious textbooks use evil in any way, and then there's other people who use it for whoever just pisses the fuck off of them, and it goes on and on and on. So if I have to use evil, it's not a belief, it's a Michael Stone forensic criminologist scale. They all end up in prison except for the 7 to 14 who are not charming to smart brains. They're only charming to the same Schopenhauer masses who actually think that trends are fun to do. Superficial people, very uninteresting. A superficial person doesn't actually take mindfulness or meditation seriously, because if they did, they wouldn't spread rumors about yoga bringing demons out of them once they had a bad hit. They would go and get therapy or something and make sure that their body is better and their embodied brain. If you have nightmares too, and that is where if you don't get to feel better in your body, okay? So when people disregard the signs of their own mental health and well-being because they've decided that they are more special, and so they're seeing things. This is the part of why when I see a shaman saying, come to me, I'll save you 20 years of therapy. Excuse me? You just did what? You didn't do anything and anyone any favors, and you don't need to be competing with the therapist. This is not what this is. So the group of the 4D and 3D who don't mingle and tingle with all will continue to prefer to use ancient books versus allowing themselves to see that, again, mental health is important, and that's the embodied brain. And that's because the body in and of itself is headed home to safe haven, secure base, but it didn't begin that way for the group of people who are with not the ownership of the sense of self. And so their body keeps on not being in their ventral vagal state. And that's why they create a bunch of different groups. Masculines are divisive because they're not empowered masculines. When you have empowered masculine, he's not divisive. Like empowered feminine is not going to distort that which is to connect to source and spirit. And that's why they make a team. A very good team, a spiritual master or guru, does not judge somebody, or a secular, mindful, living, loving human being who is a Dr. Daniel Fox, a Dr. Daniel Siegel, a Bessel van der Kolk, because they won't be judging someone based on what they are right now, They will look at what kind of potential each person carries. This is not only a guru or spiritual master. This is a sovereign self-agent who has their prefrontal cortex online and common sense to know, functional adults know every person has been affected by trauma, and that we all can be our best version. The ones who won't, emotionally immature parents and people overall, they don't want to do the work, they want to be loved. And as a lot of people are helping us to understand, emotionally immature people are not choosing, they're afraid. So we don't have to cancel or do any of that. We forgive the ones of us who have a sense of self, and we are able to use our prefrontal, and it's okay because we have a window welcome to our emotional plane. So we don't get angry, sad, or afraid in a way that is destabilizing. And so we can be in many different groups, shapes, and forms and have a good time. That's why the 5D collective brings harmony. It's because our ventral energy is in the lead. Now, if people don't like us, they're going to leave, because that's what happens when people don't like healthy, self-worth, empathic, boundary people. Because the emotionally immature person, if they're not willing to work with you on how you are handling yourself, you know. So, I mean, it is a conversation for another time. As we close on out, the spiritual master, guru, enlightened ones, they will not neglect anyone just because they are not in this moment having the necessary capability to expand to who they could be. And so you can tell what kind of potential everyone brings forth and how to bring it to fruition. As Sadhguru says, human is not a resource. A human being is a tremendous possibility. With the right nurturing, they will blossom into someone remarkable. He also shares how good intentions are not enough. It takes the right action performed with the right consciousness to produce the necessary results. And Gu means darkness, Ru, dispeller, so you dispel darkness. And Dr. Amy Apigian, she is awesome at dispelling the ignorance on how your body determines the response to everything, neuroception. And that's in any moment of your life. So it is not based on reality, it's based on one's perception, and it's not willpower or motivation. It is your body's nervous system, the security nervous system. So as long as your body's not connected, doesn't matter what's this, I'm going to know, because you're not going to wake up energized in the morning. You're not going to be looking to all words to be able to sit together and be okay with it, or notice when you're not liking something and that it's okay to not like something, but that your decision, you want it to be based on what matters and what works, not what you like or don't like. So what we like and don't like is a 14-month-old. Okay, so I can do it too, but I'm not going to be petty. I'm going to allow myself to remember how to treat people with the best personally of my ability, so it's easier for me to forgive because I said yes to Jesus, God, Holy Spirit. And when I meet self-righteous energy people, I know they're already doing something that they could notice, but they won't. They will, in their, I see source in everyone, and so I'm gonna clear all my karma, and I can talk about anybody the way I want to talk about anything. It's why the spiritual bypassers, you will notice, they tend to have stories for you, and they don't notice that they're talking about other souls with an energy that is what happens with the self-righteousness. That doesn't get healed because you didn't go to a group. So this is where our lovely Patrick Tiahan, as he points out, self-righteous energy is often learned and is the reserve of childhood pain that is aimed at others directly or privately in our thoughts. And the problem is that self-righteousness might feel good in the moment, but that's because people will have that safe blanket of control, but they will not have intimacy because their adaptive child part is 1 coming through, and they're 0-8, they're playing out their past, and they're disconnected from what is going on in a way of noticing that they're upset with this energy. So there's no intimacy or kindness, okay? And that is why a self-led, sovereign, secular, or mystic spiritual person isn't going to do anything. That's the empowerment moment of silence, where you may seem to those who are ignorant that you're not empowered, but you will be known by those who also are aware there's a reactive person in the room, there's an energy, we're going to leave it alone, because why will we talk to ears that can't hear? The minute somebody is in their feels, anger equals certainty of anger, which equals you're going to be using superficial, ancient news history, and you're also already on a roll. And so that's not for a conversation. That's for, just let them get it off their chest. It's not the trauma dumping. We don't use those words that way. That's actually weaponizing. So you don't have a enlightening conversation with people that are being reactive by using the psych education, because that's really, again, common sense to me though. But we'll talk about that in our lovely paid content. We have emotions we're working with for now. Anger, fear, sadness will be coming up. Surprise, happiness, disgust. But since we only have a couple with anger, I'm gonna do a couple more of that one. But eventually we'll also look at how you engage with functional child adult language with people. And it's really fun. We don't think of it as it's so tiresome. we that's not how it works. It's okay. We have Manny, Diego, and Sid. That's how it works. We are a herd. So when you understand the body and connection, self-led people, sovereign, secular, we are very much the future humans. And thanks to these 5 greats and more that I mentioned throughout this late IHP show with your very own 5D mystic woo-woo pseudoscience lady, we are going to keep moving into the future in a very amazing way. And I will be back with more. Once we have tiers, we'll have channeled guidance and food for thought with more than the stuff that we've been talking about. In the meantime, the expansion of the night, the chakra is really fun. And if you want, you tune into some of those episodes, and we have those shorts as well, two of the shorts. They're 3-minute shorts. Thanks for stopping by. You can become a paid free subscriber, live subscriber. Well, we have lives on YouTube and TikTok, and you can share the channel with anybody else who you know wants to inspire human potential, be their self, who is a part of our future human mystic, spiritual, mindful, living, loving community. And have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your days.